Why is he not worried? After a sweltering, bruising weekend in Thailand, many expected alarm bells inside the Ducati garage. Instead, Francesco Bagnaia emerged calm, measured, almost defiant. 9th place, one solitary sprint point. A season opener that promised redemption but delivered frustration. And yet the two-time world champion insists there is no cause for panic. The tension, however, told a different story. From the outside, it looked like a rider wrestling not only with his machine, but with the ghosts of 2025, a campaign that unravelled in its closing stages. In Buriram's furnace-like heat, the Ducati factory box felt less like a launchpad for resurgence and more like a pressure chamber. So why is Bagnaia not too worried? The answer lies beneath the headline result. In tyre management, technical nuance and a startling contrast between pre-season brilliance and race weekend struggle. Arriving at the Thailand Grand Prix in Buriram, Bagnaia carried determination rather than doubt. Pre-season testing had strongly suggested he had put the turbulence of 2025 behind him. On the new GP26, he looked composed, confident and increasingly at one with the bike. His lap times were not just competitive. They were convincing. The narrative was clear: Bagnaia 2.0. A fresh start. But from the moment qualifying began to tighten, the rhythm deserted him. A string of late-session errors left him marooned 13th on the grid, an unforgiving position at a circuit where track position is critical. He salvaged a single point in the sprint. On Sunday, a sharp launch briefly propelled him into 9th, yet he lacked the firepower to move forward. Only late retirements for Marquez, Alex Marquez and Joan Mir ensured he remained inside the top 10. For a rider of Bagnaia's caliber, an expectation. That is not the standard. The race unfolded in brutal conditions with track temperatures peaking at 58 degrees Celsius. Michelin's bespoke tyre allocation for Buriram added another strategic variable, and intriguingly it appeared to favour the flowing style of Marco Bezzecchi on the Aprilia. Bagnaia's issue was stark and specific: rear tyre control. "I was managing the tyre a lot," he explained. "I was never pushing the bike because I couldn't push. Only controlling the rear." With 8 laps remaining, he reported spinning through to 5th gear on the straight, an alarming symptom in modern Motogp, where traction electronics are finely tuned. The inability to maintain consistent pace forced him into defensive riding. Instead of attacking, he was surviving. This is where the weekend becomes more intriguing. During testing, he described the GP26 as agile, stable and perfectly manageable over race distance. Yet once competitive sessions began, that agility evaporated. The bike felt less agile, particularly on throttle application. Precisely the phase where rear tyre preservation is critical. That contrast from fantastic in testing to compromised under race pressure is what Ducati must urgently decode. Bagnaia was candid. "The others improved and we stepped back." It is a rare admission from a factory Ducati rider. In recent seasons, the Bologna mark has set the benchmark, but in Thailand they were not the reference point. The concern is not merely finishing 9th, it is the perception that Ducati no longer holds a decisive advantage, especially in extreme heat and under unique tyre constructions. And yet Bagnaia's calm may stem from something important. This was not a catastrophic collapse. Unlike the 5 consecutive DNFs that scarred the end of 2025, this was a controlled finish. Data gathered, points scored, a baseline established. "I'm not too worried," he insisted. "It's true this isn't the position I want, but it's a starting point." For a rider rebuilding momentum, finishing, even modestly, matters. There is also a mental dimension at play. Ending last season with repeated retirements can fracture confidence. Completing the Thailand opener even without brilliance provides continuity. It allows the technical staff to analyze rather than repair damage. Bagnaia's best session, notably, was FP1. From FP2 onwards, performance regressed. The inverse of testing form. That suggests environmental variables, setup direction, or evolving track conditions played a larger role than pure bike limitation. In other words, this may be solvable. The key question now is whether Thailand was an anomaly or an early indicator of a shifting competitive order. If the issue lies primarily in rear tyre management under extreme heat, Ducati can recalibrate. If it reflects a broader aerodynamic or balance compromise on the GP26, the development curve becomes steeper. Bagnaia has rebounded before, he has endured mid-season slumps and returned stronger. But 2026 was meant to be immediate redemption. Especially with a rejuvenated Marquez inside the same garage, raising the internal bar. For now, the championship standings do not tell a dramatic story. Yet inside the Ducati box, the urgency will be real. Bagnaia may not be worried, but make no mistake, the tension is rising. What makes this episode particularly compelling is how sharply it contradicts the trajectory suggested just a fortnight ago. In testing trim, Francesco Bagnaia looked like a rider fully resynchronized with his machinery. Braking deep with authority, picking the bike up early, and unleashing clean acceleration. In race conditions at the Thailand Grand Prix, that clarity dissolved into hesitation on corner exit. The very phase that defines modern Motogp lap time. Engineers will now be poring over telemetry traces comparing throttle demand versus rear slip. The spike in wheel spin through fifth gear on the straight is not merely a rider complaint, it points towards a delicate balance issue between electronics calibration, rear ride height device behavior, and thermal degradation of the tire carcass. When track temperatures soar to such extremes, even minor setup deviations can become magnified over race distance. There is also the aerodynamic component to consider. Ducati's recent philosophy has centered on stability under acceleration, but added load can compromise agility in direction changes. Bagnaia's description of the GP26 feeling less agile during the race weekend hints that the balance window may have narrowed significantly once grip levels evolved. Testing rubbered-in surfaces are one thing, a full Grand Prix weekend with shifting conditions is quite another. Meanwhile, the competitive landscape is tightening. The strong showing from Marco Bezzecchi suggests that Aprilia's mechanical grip characteristics may align more naturally with Michelin's Thailand-specific allocation. If rival manufacturers have found a sweeter spot in tyre preservation, Ducati's margin, once comfortable, is suddenly fragile.